Hey everybody, and welcome to season 2 of the All About Everest podcast. And I'm your host, Pauline Reynolds Nuttall. On this podcast, you can get anything and everything about Mount Everest, including interviews, book recommendations, tips, updates, and a whole lot more. So welcome to the spring 2023 Everest climbing season. And here we go. Hey everybody, and welcome to today's podcast episode where I interview Aviad Sado. As you guys know, I'm super proud to not only be American, but to be Israeli as well. And I've been trying to get someone from Israel on the podcast from the very beginning. Aviad Sado is the youngest Israeli to summit Mount Everest. He's the 8th Israeli to summit Mount Everest. And he is the only vegan Israeli to summit Mount Everest. He has an amazing story, and I was able to make contact with him through my sister, which was absolutely fantastic. Israel is a really big, small town, and most people, it's 7 degrees of separation to someone. In Israel, it's usually 2, max 3 at most. But with Aviad, it was really 3 degrees of separation. He was so happy to come onto the podcast, and I really appreciated that. He's currently going medical care for the injuries that he suffered during this climbing season. But it was absolutely worth it to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday to interview him, and it did not disappoint. Before we get to the rest of the episode, as you know, just a couple brief updates, housekeeping, etc. The 2023 Spring Everest season is finally over, and it was not a good season. For 2023, it has been the deadliest year ever on the mountain, with the highest death toll, and we haven't even gotten to the fall season yet. 17 people died on Mount Everest this year. There were over 200 rescues, which is the highest number of rescues ever on the mountain during a season. And according to some of the doctors at EBC, as well as in Kathmandu, this year has been the worst year for injuries and frostbite. Pretty much double than what it has been in previous years. There really is no consensus to why this season was so bad. There's a lot of different theories. Everybody knows that it is extremely dangerous and risky to attempt to summit Mount Everest. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, including illness, falling, other health reasons, exhaustion. Some of the causes include avalanches, falling, being in the death zone too long, overcrowding, lack of experience. Talking to a lot of people this year, there were 2 concerns about why possibly there were so many deaths. And again, these are theories. I had a really good talk with Adrian Ballinger, who will be on next week's episode. Really, really great interview. We talk a lot about Everest and some of the risks, and he has a very strong opinion of what is wrong on Mount Everest, and I really encourage you guys to listen next week. It is one of the best interviews And Adrian is a badass, that's for sure. But talking to a lot of people this year, there were a lot of people who got COVID and continue to climb. That has been suggested to me multiple times this year. No one willing to go on the record. And the second reason is the lack of acclimatization. Again, no one willing to go on the record, but that has been the other reason that people feel that has contributed to the high injury rate and the death toll. So, unreported COVID illness and lack of acclimatization. We don't know. I don't think anybody will know. Again, these are theories, and no one is willing to go on the record with either of those. So at this point, it's just an assumption, and there is no consensus. So go ahead and pick whichever reason you think. Gabby, who I interviewed with last week, and Aviad, who I interviewed for today's episode, both of them were injured on the mountain. They suffered frostbite, and both were evacuated from Camp 2. After talking to both of them, they felt that their injuries kind of came for the same reason, and that was because they were stuck at Camp 2 because of a storm. They hadn't expected to be up there that long. And the other thing was also running out of oxygen. Gabby had mentioned that her team, they were the victims of theft. A lot of their oxygen bottles were stolen. And so there they are at Camp 4. Because of the storm, they can't move on, and there's nothing that they can do. Luckily, both Aviad and Gabby are on the mend. They both report that they think they might make a full recovery. A Chinese climber was found unconscious in the death zone by another Chinese climber, Fan Jingtao, and his Sherpa, Lakpa Gelu Sherpa. They decided to abandon their summit attempt and help to bring her down. She apparently had been abandoned by her expedition team. So they brought her down. It was so difficult for them because she was unconscious. She had no oxygen, and clearly she had some serious frostbite. They were very exhausted, and they were only able to bring her down about 650 feet, where they were met by two other team members who were able to help them. The reason this whole thing is controversial is because this climber had agreed to pay a $10,000 fee. I guess this is standard rescue agreement that if, and I'm not sure where this $10,000 amount comes from. It could be from her team, her insurance company. I'm not quite sure. But the two that basically brought her down and saved her, who abandoned their summit attempt, threw away, tens of thousands of dollars to rescue her. They didn't get paid that full amount. The reason I'm not mentioning the name of the Malaysian climber that was rescued and the Chinese climber that were rescued is because both of them have been the victims of online bullying, including doxing. And I don't agree with that, so I'm not going to share their names. It is possibly a he said, she said deal. I do believe the facts that I have are correct. And the stupid thing is, it should be controversial. Like, these individuals went out of their way threw away their summit attempts to help these two individuals without really getting the credit that they deserved. And it's really frustrating. Just absolutely frustrating that, their rescue effort and what they did is really minimized by the people that they rescued. It's just, I really have no words for it, especially when so many people are called out for not helping those who are dying on the mountain. And that has been for, longer than the 1996 Everest disaster. Before I get to the rest of the episode, I just wanted to read the list of those who died this year on the mountain. Tenzing Sherpa, Lakpa Sherpa, and Badur Sherpa, they were the first 3 to die on the mountain this year in the Khumbu Icefell. The physician, American Jonathan Sugarman, Purba Sherpa, Moldovan climber Victor Brinza, Chinese Chuban Chen, Malaysian Ag Askandar bin Ampuan Yaqub, Australian Jason Bernard Kennison, and Cami Sherpa, the South African Dr. Peter Swart, the Indian Suzanne Leopoldina Jesus, Shillard Suhajda from Hungary, and the 4 that are missing and presumed dead, the Malaysian Hawari bin Hashim, the Indian Singaporean Srinivas Sanis Dattatray, and Ranjit Kumar Shah and his Sherpa guide, Lakpa Nuru Sherpa. Blessed be their memory. As you guys know, my family is really outdoorsy. We camp, backpack, hike, off-road, kayak, you name it. That is our outdoor adventure. We're going through gear all of the time. Either it's worn out, lost, broken, or the kids just outgrow it. We are a family, so we're constantly needing new gear. And the best way for me to find new gear, especially for those smaller things, is by subscribing to the Nomadic monthly subscription box. It starts as low as $29.99. And the May box was fantastic. It came with the Wazoo cash cap, perfect fit for my husband, and it has 6 pockets. Green Goo pain relief salve. It is a lifesaver. The Tick Patrol tick remover. It's tick season, and hey, if you do not remove ticks properly, it can be so much more worse. Wool Aid emergency pack. I did not know that they make Band-Aids out of merino wool. The Nomadic card multi-tool. I just switched cars, got a brand new one, so that went right into my glove compartment. And every once in a while, Nomadic includes new food items to try. And so we tried the Tosi Super Bites cashew blueberry flavor, and it was delicious. And as a perk for listening to the podcast, if you use the code Nomadic at checkout, you will get 10% off. So thank you, Nomadic, and you can find the link in the description of this episode. All right, and now for the rest of this episode, my interview with Aviad Sado from Israel, who is the youngest Israeli and the 8th Israeli and the only Israeli vegan to summit Mount Everest. I hope you enjoy this interview as much as I enjoyed doing it. He is a fantastic person, and he was in the hospital getting a transfusion and care for his hands when we did this interview. Hey, Aviad, thank you so much for joining us for the All About Everest podcast.
Thank you. I really happy to be here and talk a little about my experience.
And I'm excited to have Aviad here because you guys all know how proud I am of being Israeli and American. And Aviad is the 8th Israeli to summit Mount Everest.
And also the youngest, and also the first vegan. This part is really important for me.
Absolutely. So, Aviad, you live in a country that's desert. There's really only one mountain. Why did you decide to climb mountains?
So I don't know. As I see it, I think like the dream to climb on mountains is like something really natural in our as a human being. You just want to climb and be in a high place. As I see it, I think in any any person has this part in in his um, in his mind, but sometimes people I don't know, afraid or become so think about sorry, that let's start again.
Okay, keep going. You're good.
Okay, so as I see it, I think like the part of climbing on mountains is really basic in every person that I met. This dream to climb on high mountains, a lot of people talk about it, also in Israel, and I think in any place in the world, like it's part of our nature. But some people take it like to the next step, and some people just leave it. I remember myself from really young age want to climb on mountains, and specifically Mount Everest. I remember that I like read every article I could find in Hebrew about climbing, and then I read about the first mountaineering to climb Everest, and then see a lot of pictures of Everest, and tell to myself that someday I want to be there. But it's really hard in Israel, like you say. It's we half of the country is a desert, and the other part is actually pretty low. So we have only one mountain, is Mount Hermon, that I climb on him, I think, more than 20 times. But again, it's only 2,000 meters, so it's not a lot. So from young age, I wanted to climb Everest, but it was like just a dream for me, not specifically plan how to do it and things like this, because so complicated as an Israeli guy.
So where did you start your training? Because again, Israel has no mountains. It has one mountain, which is only 2,000 meters.
Yeah, you're right. So actually, everything started 1 year ago when my mom died from a cancer, and then I decided that I want to take the dream and to make it like for a real plan to do it. And then I start search first for Everest expeditions, and I understood which expedition I want to climb with them. And from this moment, I talk with people from the expedition, from last expeditions in Everest, and understood from them which mountains are best for climbing before Everest, to be prepared as the best as I can. So that was like actually the first idea. And then I travel in like almost all of the world, sometimes in Africa, sometimes in Asia, sometimes in the South America. And in every place I found like the specific mountain I want to do before Everest, and then I just do it. So it was like a race, because I had only one half year, only 6 months before April, when the expedition will start. So in 6 months, I climbed something like, I think, almost 15 mountains. It was a lot, and a lot of pressure, a lot of a lot of exercise. So this was really hard, actually.
And one of the questions I always ask is, how did you fund your expedition?
So I think that before Everest, you don't know actually what's going to happen. Like you think that you know, and you read a lot and you talk with a lot of people, but when you come to Everest and then when you meet the people, it's actually so much different. I didn't know exactly which people are going to be with me in the expedition, how much time. The weather is always like something that change and you change your plans because of it. So I was really afraid before the expedition, but in the moment I land in Kathmandu and meet like the people and understood that we are like 4 people in the international expedition, I was really happy because they were so nice and people that it's so fun to talk with them and people that have the dream to climb with you. So the expedition started really, really good actually, and almost until the end, until like the bad end that I'm going to talk about on him after. I found the expedition amazing, and also like the company that arrange all the logistic and things. It was amazing and much more better that I thought.
So did you do the traditional acclimatization of like trekking to base camp, or did you do the speed one?
No, I do that like the traditional. Also, it's cheaper, but this is not like the main part. I think for the body, things happen to the body if you land directly to base camp or directly to camp 2. People do those things. I think that if you have like the time, it's really important that you will do like the long acclimatization to know your body, to feel what is like a headache, to feel what is to breathe really fast. Things like this are really important. And when you land directly on base camp, I met a lot of mountaineering people who did it. That wasn't good for them. So I did like the longer acclimatization from Lukla directly walk to the base camp.
And being vegan, did you find it harder to acclimatize?
So not hard to acclimatize. Actually, I came with really good. I did a lot of exercise also in the mountains that I climbed before, but also in Israel I ran a lot and stuff. So being vegan wasn't a problem for me. Actually, I was like in the best shape in all of the team. But the problem in being vegan is actually the nutrition that you need to eat. And in the end, base camp is can be like a small city that people cook for you and you have a tent, but it's still a small city in 5,000 meters. So you don't have anything you want. So as a vegan, it was hard for me to, for example, find a protein or find a carbon to eat, things like this that are vegan. So that was like a challenge, personally challenge for me. But this is, you can do it. Like this is not something that need to be like a thing that people afraid from you or something like this, being vegan.
And so what did you first think when you went through the Khumbu Icefall?
Yeah, so everyone afraid from the Khumbu Icefall. You heard about it so much. I actually heard that like most of the people die or in the Khumbu Icefall or in the last day, the summit push. So I afraid from him a lot. And also you see a lot of videos about the letters and the Sherpas who put them, and that you walk, you know, like 20 meters on air, and you can fall to a crevasse and die. So when we first walk, it was we start in the middle of the night. They walk from the base camp to Camp 1 and they come back. That was like the first acclimatization that we did on the mountain. I was really afraid, but actually on this year, in this season of the mountain, there wasn't a lot of letters, so it's make the Kumbu icefall maybe less frightening, but more tiring, because the thing that the crevasses was really big this year, so they didn't put letters, so you just a lot of times go down and then go up, go down and then go up, and it was like supposed to be like the place for letters, but the crevasse was so big, so it's make you walk much more than I don't know, like last season or different years. So the Kumbu icefall, I want to like say again, was less frightening but more tiring. So this was like my experience in the Kumbu icefall. I just want to say one more thing, that in the end you do the Kumbu icefall so much time that it just feel comfortable after like 4 times. Every letters, every crevasse seems so much comfortable to walk. So you don't afraid after like the third or the fourth time. It's become like much more better.
And how big was your team that you went with?
So we were 4 in my team, international team actually. A lot of people do expedition in Everest, like local expedition and national expedition, like people from India, people from China. We were the international team. Only 4 people. For me, it was like the best. Also, you meet a lot of people with, you know, different experience from you, different age maybe, and this is for me was like a much more special experience. And also that we were 4 people, so you have like the time to know everyone much more better. It's become a really intimate team that everyone know everyone. And as I see it, like in general, mountaineering is, I don't see it like as a solo sport or sport that like you do it alone. You do it as a team and you need to support each other. And when we were only 4 people, for me it's helped me to feel comfortable with them, to trust them, to be dependent on them in some places. And really like everyone help each other, you know, maybe with medical treatment, maybe with water, maybe with a good word and support. So for me it was like really nice and special experience.
So what day did you guys get ready for your summit push?
So we finished like the acclimatization in the beginning of May. After almost 1 month of acclimatization, we climbed until Camp 3. And then we wait 2 weeks until we understood that the summit day going to be in the 19th. We understood this only 2 days before we start the climbing to the summit. So we understood it in the 13th that we're going to be in the 19th on the summit. So in the night between the 14th to the 15th, we start climbing. So this is something actually really nice in the mountain. The forecast is only 5 days to the future. So you don't know actually when it's going to be the summit push. It's going to be in the end of May, in the middle of May. And we understood it, our team understood it like 2 days before we start that we're going to do it.
So you guys headed up, and my understanding is a lot of people were not necessarily stuck, but they were in the death zone for longer than they should have been. So when you guys first headed up, did you have any delays?
Yeah, so I've read a lot from the line, the traffic jam. A lot of people talk about it, and that was like the year. I think they Everest break a record, like with all the permissions. So I've read, but in the acclimatization, we didn't meet a lot of people. We're stuck behind and non-professional people or something like this. That was like fine, but I want to tell you something about like Everest as I see it, the mountain. There is a really a big difference between the mountain from base camp to camp 3 and from camp 3 to the summit. So, and if you have like a traffic jam or something like this before camp 3, so that's fine. But from camp 3 to the summit, you know, people use oxygen, and the route that you climb is like become more difficult. So you don't want to be like stuck behind people or something like this. We were stuck, I think, in 2 places. One place was between camp 3 to camp 4, and actually that was interesting part, because the reason we were stuck is one good reason and one bad reason. The good reason that we understood only later was that we were stuck behind a person who climbed Everest without any legs. Probably you heard about him. So after we see him, we were really like excited. And for me, it was like, okay, I was stuck like, I don't know, 1 hour here, maybe because of you, but you give me so much power when I see you. So it was like amazing for me. And one bad reason that was we were stuck between camp 3 to camp 4 was because some bodies, people who died on Everest before we climbed, was evacuated with Sherpas, and this like it's make like people being stuck in the rope, because the Sherpas who go down with the body use the same rope like us. So that was a part from camp 3 to camp 4, but I don't remember anything more than that. I can it's a different question, but I can tell you also about the night we spent in camp 4 in the death zone. That was a really difficult night, but it wasn't because we stuck. It was because the storm and because a medical problem with some person in our team, some mate.
And that seems to be a common theme, is that a lot of people got stuck at camp 4 because of the weather. So let's talk about your experience at camp 4.
Exactly. Yeah, so it was like, first I can say it was like crazy experience. I didn't accept that. We were on the summit in the morning of the 19th, like we accept. We were really tired after 30 hours of walking, climbing. And then we go down, I think, more than 4 hours to camp 4. And then I was like the first person from the group who made the climbing down to camp 4. And then I wait for the whole team to go down. And then 2 things happened. One, a storm coming to camp 4, a crazy wind, crazy snow, and we couldn't like it was almost the afternoon, and we couldn't go down in this weather to camp 2. And the second thing that happened to us is that some person in our team didn't made the climbing down, and we wait for him. And then we were stuck actually one night in the death zone. Some of us did it without any oxygen.
Did you run out of oxygen, or what? Did you guys have any theft? Because theft was a big thing this year, and so many teams had oxygen that was stolen?
So there wasn't a stolen in our team, stolen oxygen or something like this, but because of the medical problem we had in our team, the Sherpas decided to use in some of our oxygen, the spare oxygen to the night, to help the other mate. And I want to make it like understood. When we didn't supposed to stay in Camp 4, so there wasn't a lot of oxygen. In the moment we decided to stay in Camp 4, there wasn't a lot of spare oxygen that we could use in this night. And the Sherpas decided to take this spare oxygen that we didn't add a lot. They decided to take it to help the other mate stay alive. And that's make me, for example, stay all night without any oxygen in Camp 4 in the death zone. Of course, you can't sleep because you almost don't have oxygen. You need to breathe like this. Like breathe really, really deep to stay alive and to not go to some panic or something like this. And only on the morning we understood what happened to our mate, our person from the team, and what happened to our oxygen.
And so we're not going to mention his name, but you lost your teammate on Mount Everest, correct?
Yeah.
And that must have been really hard.
Yeah, it was really hard. I will not say his name, but he was like my best mate. We sleep every night from the acclimatization in La Buche until the acclimatization to Camp 3. We sleep every night together. He was like for me, was my closest friend in the team, in the international team. And again, I say like, this is a team, this is a sport that you need a team. So although we know only 2 months, I feel really unique connection to him. And I was in shock when in the morning, his Sherpa open my tent and say me that he's passed away. I was in shock, and we supposed after we understood it, still go down from Camp 4 to Camp 2, you know, in some kind of a trauma that we lost a friend, we came 4 and now we're 3. I slept before we were 2 in the tent and now I'm only 1. It was really tough experience for me.
And so you guys came down, and one of the biggest things that happened to you on Mount Everest is you got injured.
Yeah. So I got like, first I want to say like that a lot of people in this crazy year, this crazy season, got frostbite. This is really common medical problem in Everest, and specifically in this season. I got frostbite in my right hand, and I understood it half an hour before we came to the summit. So that wasn't like the place to turn around and just go down. And again, I will say the difference between to be lower than Camp 3 and above Camp 3. If you are above Camp 3, you don't have a doctor, you don't have a helicopter, you don't have an option to evacuation. You just need to walk. And if you want to stay alive, you just need to climb down with your body, with your power until Camp 2. And only from Camp 2, you can see maybe a doctor, you can maybe get evacuation from with an helicopter. And for me, it was a really tough experience because I climbed down from actually the summit until Camp 2 only with one hand, with my left hand.
And it probably made it worse because you were stuck at Camp 4 when you weren't supposed to be.
Exactly. And like, you know, every moment in your every moment that you stay upper than camp 3, you understand that your fingers become worse and worse because the medical treatment you can get in the moment you have frostbite is different than the medical treatment after 2 days. For example, you get a frostbite. So it was really hard for me to know this. Anytime, any hour I stay upper than camp 3, I actually hurt my fingers.
So where were you able to first get your medical treatment?
So first treatment was actually, the first real treatment was actually only in camp 2. I got some pills and things like this. And before that, I only like put, you know, maybe a bottle of hot water or I don't know, put really big gloves to don't make the situation much worse. But only in camp 2, a doctor saw me, gave me some pills. And then in the morning after I came to camp 2, I got evacuated to Kathmandu, and then I got like the real treatment, the real medical treatment from a doctor in the hospital.
And so now that we're treating it in Israel, what do the Israeli doctors think? Because they don't, nobody gets frostbite in Israel.
Yeah, it was so weird for them. Actually, I became famous not only because of my story in Israel, that I like the youngest Israeli to climb Everest, but also that I got like some frostbite. We don't have like some low temperature like in Everest in Israel. So any doctor in hospital actually like know me now. I have luck that although we don't have a frostbite in Israel, people with frostbite in Israel, we have really good doctors and really good healthcare. So this was like my luck that there were doctors still here, doctors that know what to do with my situation.
And tell us what you normally do for a living, because we know that your frostbite may affect it. What do you do? What's your day job?
Yeah, actually, I was like a commander in the army for 5 years in some special unit that I will not say its name, but you know, extreme and things like climbing on mountains. This is a big part of my life. So, being a commander and combat in special unit was part of it in the army of Israel, but also run marathons and also climb on walls and also, you know, do a lot of treks. And also I have a different hobby that is not extreme at all, but is play on piano. So now I like really hope that my fingers going to be okay, that I can come back to play on piano, because extreme is really nice and I want to do it for the rest of my life, but also for the rest of my life I want to play in piano.
And what is the prognosis right now for your hands? What do the doctors think?
So they're really optimistic. Actually, one hand is like okay, really okay, the left hand, and I'm a left guy, so this is really good for me. And the other end, you know, it's a really slow process. So you just need to wait 2 months, maybe 3 months. But I think like in the end, like it's look now, also the doctor and also me think the ends and the fingers going to be okay.
That's good. And so are you going to continue climbing? Like, what's your plan moving forward?
Yeah, so I really want to continue climbing. It's little difficult in Israel because again, we don't have a lot of people and don't have a lot of like experience, but I want to make this experience in Israel and to be like an Israeli climber who climb maybe being like the first Israeli to climb on some mountains. But also it's expensive sport, so I need to save money, and maybe I think next season, maybe in 2 years from now, now I will come back to climb on some different mountains. But I don't see my life without continue climbing. Like, I think I will do it in some way or another. Maybe not difficult mountains like Everest, maybe more technical. I don't know. I need to see it, but I know for sure that I'm going to climb again.
And have you thought of doing the whole 7 summits?
So I don't like actually the 7 summit challenge so much. And I think it's become like more easy and more commercial challenge now than it was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. But I really interested in climbing on some 8,000 meters peaks, maybe Nanga Parbat or K2, some peaks that none of the Israeli mountaineering did before. So this is like the things I am interesting now, and also some technical mountains. For example, maybe Aviad Sado or mountains that maybe they're more lower in the altitude, but much more difficult in the technique. So this is like the next mountain for me.
Because you and I had talked about this whole journey for you. It wasn't about records or anything like that. It was just you were climbing for you, and you were climbing because of your mom, and that's what it was about. You weren't record chasing.
Exactly. Like, that's nice that you have like the record to be the youngest Israeli and things like this, but in the end, I went to this journey from beginning, as the personal journey. In Hebrew, we have like a phrase to go from a deep hole to the deepest, go from the deepest hole to the highest mountain. So in the last year, I felt like so bad because I lost my mom, and I felt like now I feel in my deepest hole in all of my life. And the journey was to go from this deepest hole to the highest mountain. And it's not like it was also the literally highest mountain in the world, but it was also like highest mountain as a feeling, as a feeling of do something big, of do something to release your pain, to feel better. And I feel like the journey was much more about that than break a record or something like this.
And that's how a lot of people feel. And it's not even just about the summit, it's just about your Everest journey.
Exactly.
So Aviad, you have no idea how excited I was to have you, and that you agreed to this interview, and I was able to track you down because somebody knew somebody who knew somebody. Thank you so much for joining us for the podcast.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to talk. Bye.
Thank you again, Aviad, for agreeing to interview with me. Toda mekol alev. החלמה מהירה ורק בריאות. Thank you so much, Aviad. We wish you good health and healing. Everybody, next week's episode is with Adrian Ballinger from Alpenglow. It is an interview you do not want to miss. I don't have favorites from any of my interviews, but this one with Adrian, it really makes you think. He has a different perspective than a lot of people out there of what's going on in the mountains, and it was just great. Adrian is such a badass, and so is his wife, Emily, which maybe one of these days we'll get her on as well. So until next week, climb your own climb. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the All About Everest podcast. We would love it if you would rate, subscribe, and follow wherever you listen to your podcast. You can find us on social media at All About Everest Podcast or at Mama Bear Outdoors. You can support our podcast by subscribing to our Patreon or by buying us a coffee. Until next time.